I'm about to tell you something that will clash with everything you believe. People don't buy the best option. They buy what makes sense. For how they feel. And that changes absolutely everything. Because if logic truly dominated, the decisions of millions of people would be predictable, rational, efficient, optimal. But they aren't. And there is one modern example. Massive. Impossible to ignore. That exposes this illusion with brutal clarity. A product that is more expensive, less compatible, with obvious limitations. And yet, it dominates. Not because of logic, but because of something much deeper. Let's talk about Apple Incorporated and its flagship product, the iPhone. If you analyze the decision through pure logic, it often doesn't win. Higher price. More closed options. Less customization compared to alternatives. So, why do millions of people choose it again and again? It's not an accident. And it definitely isn't pure logic. This is where the illusion begins to break apart. The decision doesn't happen when you compare specifications. It happens much earlier. In how you perceive. In what you feel. In what you believe that object says about you. Because the iPhone isn't sold as technology. It's sold as identity. Simplicity. Status. Belonging. And when something connects with identity, logic loses priority. Watch the pattern. Someone says, it's more secure. It's more intuitive. It works better. It sounds logical. But that comes afterward. It's justification. Not the origin. The real decision already happened. At a deeper level. In a feeling, this is for me. And when that feeling appears, the mind does what it does best. It builds arguments to support it. This reveals something crucial. You don't buy because of reasons. You buy and then you create reasons. But here's where it gets even more interesting. People are not lying. They genuinely believe their arguments. Because the logic they construct is coherent. It makes sense. The problem isn't logic. It's where that logic comes from. Because if the foundation is emotional, logic merely organizes that emotion. It doesn't question it. And then something even more powerful happens. The ecosystem. Messages. Advertising. Shared experiences. Everything reinforces the decision. And when millions of people agree, perception becomes reality. It can't be a coincidence. If everyone uses it, it must be better. But that isn't pure logic either. It's social validation. And social validation carries more weight than any argument. This is where the illusion of logical thinking completely falls apart. Because even when someone tries to compare things objectively, they are already influenced. They already have a preference. They already have an internal narrative. And that filters everything. The data that confirms their decision appears clear. The data that contradicts it gets dismissed. And suddenly, the logical decision had already been made from the very beginning. The biggest lie is not that logic doesn't exist. It's believing that it leads. Because in reality, logic is the lawyer, not the judge. It defends the decision, but it doesn't make it. And as long as you keep believing that you decide through logic, you will remain predictable, influenceable, steerable. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. Now the question changes. It is no longer, which is the best option? It becomes, why do I want this to be the best option? Because that's where something different begins. Something more uncomfortable. More honest. More real. And when you begin to see that, you realize something that most people never accept. You are not as logical as you think. But the system you live in knows exactly how to make you feel like you are. And that is what makes it so effective. If this topic awakens something in your mind, then you still haven't seen the most important part. If you want to understand it clearly, I've prepared something very special for you, The Invisible War. You can find it in the link in the description below.